Close your eyes and relax. I want to talk to you about a stunning RPG that came out this year. No, not metaphor. A stunning RPG from the beginning of the year. No, not Infinite Wealth. A stunning action RPG that came out at the beginning of this year. It's not Final Fantasy. This is taking too long. I want to talk to you about Granblue Fantasy Relink. In fact, I've wanted to talk more about this game for a long time. It was released on PlayStation and PC on January 31st, sold 1 million copies within the first couple weeks, and got positive critical reception, and yet this video may be the first you're hearing about it. So while I have you here, let me tell you about why this game is worthy of your time and consideration as 2024 comes to a close. One of the first things that struck me from trailers, and when the game first opens, was the art style. While the style of character models is reminiscent of pretty much any anime-inspired RPG, the environments are more evocative of paintings. The game takes place in a world of floating sky islands, so there is no shortage of views to gawk at along the way. But the sky isn't the only thing worth looking at. This is also a setting filled to the brim with elemental magic, larger-than-life creatures, and scenery that will take you from lush forests to magma-filled caverns. There were multiple battles that left me with my jaw on the floor because of the sheer scope and the visual flair on display. In every case, the use of lighting and colors is consistently impressive and had me spamming the screenshot button. Good visuals are a dime a dozen these days, so thankfully Granblue Fantasy Relink is also filled with colorful cast of characters. This won't be a surprise to anyone who has played the Granblue Fantasy Versus games or the mobile/browser game that started it all, but I for one was pleasantly surprised to see how many characters could join your adventure. Because not only can you bring them in your party, each character is able to be directly controlled by the player. In the base game, there is a staggering 18 playable characters, so whether you prefer swords, magic, heavier weapons, or even firearms, you'll be able to find someone that fits your favorite playstyle. Each of these characters also has an individual side quest chain of sorts that can be explored, which gives you their backstory and boosts their stats as you progress. But if you just want to stick to the main gameplay loop, or simply don't care about some of the characters enough, that aspect of the game is entirely optional. No matter who you choose to control, or which 3 characters you bring with you in your party, a meticulously fine-tuned combat system awaits. Normal attacks, combat arts, link attacks, and skybound arts all come together for a symphony of colorful, controlled chaos. I am pleasantly shocked to tell you that none of this ever seemed to affect frame rate for even a moment, which is good because some late game battles will test your ability to time your attacks and dodges appropriately. One of my favorite aspects of combat involves you and your party members using your skybound arts within a certain window of time. It will unleash a special attack that varies depending on how many of you were able to join in, as well as utilizing the elemental damage of the first person in the chain. The visuals and sound design on display during the execution of these attacks is nothing short of excellent.
Bring it! Prominent flare! Shine as one! Absolute zero!
To put a nice bow on the experience, this is the rare RPG that doesn't overstay its welcome, unless you want it to. The main story will run you about 12 to 15 hours, and it truly does have a logical conclusion to it. But if you want to explore the questline that opens up afterward, or simply tackle the increasingly difficult selection of quests, you'll double or even triple your playtime before you realize what's happened.
Triples is best. Yeah, that's good.
The gameplay loop is simply that well done and that fun to play. It also helps that quests play out much like they do in the Monster Hunter games. Choose the quest, double check your gear and party arrangement, and then get dropped into the quest. Once it wraps up, you're dropped back into town. These can range from taking out waves of enemies to revisiting some of the memorable boss fights from the main story, which itself is also replayable and broken up into its various chapters once you've cleared it once. All this truly makes Granblue Fantasy Relink feel like a game that respects your time, regardless of how much you choose to put into it. Granblue Fantasy Relink was the type of game that I fell in love with almost immediately. I pre-ordered it to play a couple days before the official release date at the end of January, and I still find myself picking it back up from time to time as the year comes to a close. If you're a fan of action RPGs, please do yourself a favor. Do not sleep on Granblue Fantasy Relink. What other games do you feel may have been slept on this year? Let me know in the comments. And as always, play what you love and love what you play.